In the previous episode, an elder's body began transforming into a female, acquiring features such as a large chest, wide hips, and a curvy behind, much to their dismay. After the transformation, they told the Sword Saint, "No matter where you go, I'll always be able to find you." Sword Saint, upon witnessing this transformation, realized that they were completely under the control of the Dark Gear. Sword Axe, however, smiled upon hearing this, placed his hand on the Dark Gear, and challenged Sword Saint, suggesting she was underestimating him, and that his resentment made the dark power seem insignificant. He then forcefully removed the Dark Gear along with some skin. Upon seeing his new appearance, I was shocked. The elder had become a beautiful girl, which was the true form of Demon Burial. Feeling rejuvenated in her true form, Demon Burial was unfazed by Sword Saint's declaration to destroy her that day. Sword Saint summoned her phantom superweapon, the hoof armor of the legendary monster Phantom Horse King, forged by the Dwarf King himself. This armor, which could increase the wearer's speed tenfold and grant the effect swift as wind, was her choice to defeat Demon Burial. Demon Burial, unconcerned, taunted Sword Saint to come closer. Sword Saint responded by appearing behind Demon Burial and using her Mist Chop technique, destroying a 100-meter radius around them and creating a massive hole in the ground. Despite the power of the attack, Sword Saint was stunned to see her phantom sword shattered. Demon Burial emerged unscathed, commenting that her body initially felt stiff, which prevented her from blocking a few blows, but acknowledged Sword Saint's strength. Sword Saint, still determined, thought about the Phantom Horse King, whose armor couldn't significantly injure Demon Burial, and pondered her next move. Demon Burial, warming up, waited for Sword Saint to make her next move, which prompted Sword Saint to summon 2 additional weapons from her storage and use weapon fusion. She created a more powerful weapon by combining the Stalactite Spear, forged over 1,000 years by the Dwarf King from a rare stalactite, and the Insect Scythe, also forged by the Dwarf King using the Insect King Gem Mantis's sickle. Additionally, she summoned the Cthulhu Cane and Explosive Knife, both super weapons with their unique dangers and powers. Sword Saint, combining all her super weapons, launched an all-out attack on Demon Burial. Meanwhile, Demon Burial finished her warm-up, unbothered by Sword Saint's fury and arrogance. Sword Saint also summoned the Snow Silkworm Shield, a super weapon forged from the sacred beast, Snow White Silkworm's pupa silk by the Dwarf King, known for its toughness and cold air bursts. Demon Burial, however, stood her ground, challenging Sword Saint's underestimation. Sword Saint, using the combined powers of her weapons, created a twisted space with the Cthulhu Cane and allowed the explosive knife to continuously explode, releasing the Earth's core energy. She knew she could only maintain this energy for a short time before her mind risked invasion. Finally, Sword Saint summoned the Hammer of All, a super weapon forged by the Dwarf King from the fossilized bones of a mammoth lord. Weighing 100 tons, even a normal blow from this hammer could unleash ultimate power. With this weapon, she aimed for Demon Burial, determined to end the confrontation. However, when Demon Burial used the Splitting Cut technique and sliced through the Sword Saint's powerful weapon, the Sword Saint was taken aback by the attack. She realized that if she didn't block this attack, she would die. So, without wasting any time, she used Abyss Magic, 7 guard swords, and suddenly, 7 swords appeared in front of her as a shield. However, this was not enough to block Demon Burial's attack, which broke through the Sword Saint's defense and heavily damaged her. In just 8 seconds, Demon Burial killed the Sword Saint. Seeing the Sword Saint in this state, Demon Burial wondered if she was truly inadequate. Yet, she was not satisfied with the fight. This was just a warm-up for her. The real battle was about to begin. So, she used her demonic axe to search for any heartless ones. With the help of her demonic axe, she could see for thousands of miles. Suddenly, she saw a house in the middle of nowhere. This was the Leping house, where Leping and Elizabeth lived. She was thrilled to see Elizabeth and exclaimed that she was heading there right away. Meanwhile, at the Leping house, Elizabeth grabbed the remote and turned on the air conditioner, remarking, "Indeed, it's better to go home, turn on the air conditioner, watch TV, and eat chips. I really have to leave all that troublesome world domination thing to you." However, Leping felt physically and mentally exhausted every time he had to go out, wondering if ruling the world was truly not for him. Elizabeth disagreed, insisting that they must do what they have agreed upon and assured Leping not to worry, promising to aid him. However, Leping was frustrated because of what she had done in the Sword Saint Guild. He asked Elizabeth if she could inform him before taking such actions next time. Some time ago, in the Sword Saint Guild, Elizabeth had killed one of the elders, shocking the Sword Saint Guild president, Elder Sword, who immediately alerted everyone. Butler Ass, the red-haired girl Anna, and her sister unsheathed their swords to attack Elizabeth. Blue Sword also released his sword Kai, but after the Great Apostle took over his body, there was not much Kai left in his body. Meanwhile, Prince Brian was surprised by Elizabeth's overwhelming power, thinking he'd better watch the show from the sidelines. After the incident, Mr. Boss tried to calm everyone down, asking them to listen to him. He then turned to Leping, asking if he could explain the current situation. Leping was confused, wondering what situation Mr. Boss was referring to. Elizabeth explained that, given their level, it was no surprise they had been infiltrated by the Dark Guild. Leping, confused, asked Elizabeth what she meant. She then showcased the sword skill Mr. Dizzy Tagore had given to Leping, insisting that everyone should pay attention. Subsequently, she unleashed her resolve magic, and suddenly, a parasite appeared in front of everyone. The Sword Saint Guild's president, Elder Sword, was profoundly shocked by the appearance of the parasite. Upon realizing he had been discovered, the parasite began to ponder its next move. However, upon seeing Leping as an easy target with no magic, it immediately attacked him. Leping was taken aback by this sudden assault, having no time to react. Fortunately, Elizabeth acted swiftly and killed the parasite. After Elizabeth had dealt with the parasite, Butler Ash noticed that Mr. Tagore's body was a spell technique. The girl with yellow hair was shocked by this revelation, wondering if even a prominent figure like Mr. Tagore had joined the Dark Guild. The girl with red hair, Anna, explained that it made sense. More and more people were accepting the power of the Dark Guild, and they were able to evade the detection of the Sword of Purification through advanced techniques. Elizabeth commented that this technique was more than a simple mechanism. Had they allowed him to cast a massive technique to fight, the entire area would have become a large-scale hatching site. She laughed, remarking that it would have been ridiculous. Meanwhile, Leping was still reeling from the encounter, wondering if what had attacked him was indeed a parasite. The prospect of being bitten seemed daunting. Elder Sword, curious, questioned Elizabeth on how she discovered the parasite. Elizabeth, however, chose not to disclose her method, stating that it was none of his concern. After hearing this, Elder Sword started laughing, saying, "Although we have grown weak, we still cannot be disregarded." Meanwhile, Mr. Benain Boss was really surprised, thinking, "That's bad. The Elder is someone who is sensitive about his pride. If he doesn't recognize the identities of Mr. Leping and the Demon Queen, he will definitely consider them beneath him. If he offends the Demon Queen, the consequences will be dire." So he asked Leping, "If you understand what just happened, could you explain it to everyone?" Leping, confused about why Mr. Boss was asking him, and having not figured it out himself either, was suddenly interrupted by Elizabeth, who grabbed his hand and said, "It's time for afternoon tea. Discussion time is over. Come home with me now." So Leping said goodbye to Mr. Boss, stating, "I'll see you next time." Mr. Benoit Boss was really scared, thinking, if Leping doesn't explain himself clearly, that stingy elder will cause trouble for him. Even if the Sword Saint returns, there will be no way to save this. Elizabeth became really angry at Mr. Panboss, asking him, "Do you want to die?" After hearing this, Mr. Boss quickly shut his mouth and said goodbye to Elizabeth happily. Meanwhile, Elder Sword asked Butler Ash to follow him. They were going to the south right now to investigate the Sword Saint matter. In the present, Leping asked Elizabeth, "If something like that happens in the future, please tell me in advance so I can be mentally prepared." Meanwhile, Elizabeth was thinking, there are two pieces of information worth mentioning now. One is that the guy's glasses can detect other people's magic, probably forged from Jim's red demon eyes. Secondly, the magic power of that one is different from that of the Dark Guild. It's clear that there are still other evil forces outside of the Dark Guild who are on the move. But that doesn't matter. Emilia has eradicated the headquarters of the Dark Guild, and the source of this trouble is no longer there. The remaining ones are just left for Leping to deal with as an adventurer. However, that magic truly scared Leping. He is really glad no such things are living in his yard. But he was really curious and asked Elizabeth. How could she sense that he was a bad guy? Leping wondered if Elizabeth could teach him that skill. He then realized it must be a form of magic that requires magical power, which he lacks the talent for. Elizabeth knew that when the glass was detecting magic power, there was no magical reflection. She explained, "If you're not as strong as me, you won't be able to detect it under normal circumstances. But wearing clothes made by you, you don't need a magical reflection to detect all malicious intentions the other party wishes to inflict." Feeling underestimated, questioned if his inquiry was perceived as mockery, aiming to challenge her authority as the Demon Queen. Elizabeth, visibly annoyed, retorted that Leping was not worth her attention. Feeling anxious, Leping asked Elizabeth what he should do next. "Is it really enough to just swing the sword 1,000 times a day? I need to learn some sword moves, right? But the Sword Saint Guild refused to take me in. Why don't you teach me?" he implored. Elizabeth firmly declined, outlining the prerequisites for him to rule the world. He must rely solely on his swordsmanship and magic. Besides his clothes, he cannot take any of his other creations with him. And although she will accompany and guide him, she will not teach him any magic or swordsmanship. Confused, Leping wondered when they had agreed on these terms. Elizabeth replied, "We agree on them just now." Frustrated, Leping threatened to seek Uncle Boss's guidance again. Even if he switched to cards, Uncle Boss should still be able to teach him the swordsmanship he had learned before. However, Holy Sword Alpha, transforming into his human form, advised Leping to give up, stating that they simply could not teach him pure swordsmanship. Leping, puzzled, asked what pure swordsmanship was. Alpha explained that even without relying on magic, none of their techniques would be effective. He questioned why anyone would learn pure swordsmanship just to strengthen their body if magic was available. Leping, conceding to Alpha's logic, admitted, "What you're saying makes sense. In this magical world, combat demands the use of magic sword techniques that integrate magic." However, a sudden recollection of pure swordsmanship and body strengthening made Leping stand up from his seat and head towards the bookshelf, exclaiming that he had found what he was looking for. Holy Sword Alpha, curious, wondered what Leping had discovered, especially since this was his first visit in a while. Leping recalled obtaining the item randomly from the system as a gift, only to discard it on the bookshelf where it collected dust. Was this the item he was referring to? Holy Sword Alpha, meanwhile, was curious about what kind of place could keep Elizabeth so engaged, preventing her from wanting to rule the world. He decided to investigate, but was surprised by the many unfamiliar things he encountered, questioning what these strange items were. As he ventured further, he suddenly felt an intense killing intent. Unable to discern the source, he realized he had just been metaphorically killed. He wondered, was it him? No, such a sharp intent didn't match. Was it her? That didn't seem right either, as her killing intent should be more violent and terrifying. He then realized the intent was emanating from the kitchen, but was shocked to see kitchen knives. How is this possible? I am the king of weapons, Holy Sword Alpha, he thought, unable to comprehend how he could feel threatened by mere kitchen knives. Overwhelmed by fear, he fled the house, declaring his refusal to stay. Leping, confused by Alpha's sudden departure, but not overly concerned, had finally found what he was searching for. The Tai Chi sword technique, known for its ease of learning and moderate exercise, promised health benefits like disease prevention, life extension, and fitness maintenance, and could even prevent osteoporosis and arthritis. It aimed to unveil the mysteries of nature. Surprised by his previous disregard for it, Leping found the book useful now. It outlined 13 Tai Chi sword movements, seemingly simple and learnable by individuals of all ages without requiring magic. Now, he was genuinely curious if it could be effective in battle. So, he asked Elizabeth if she could help him with a sword manual he had found. Elizabeth, feeling sleepy after eating so many chips, declined Leping's request, advising him to go and play by himself as she wanted to lie down for a bit. Leping was really disappointed with Elizabeth's response, stating that he would go out to find Alpha and try it out. After Leping left, Elizabeth started smiling, thinking to herself, "You won't be able to master swordsmanship anytime soon. I'll just let you practice slowly and blindly on your own. When you hit a wall and have no idea what to do next, I'll step in and guide you. Only then can I underscore my superior position to you." Leping, after coming out of the house, started calling Holy Sword Alpha's name, asking where he was. But suddenly, he noticed that Holy Sword Alpha had turned into his sword form again. Confused, Leping warned Holy Sword Alpha that if he ignored him, he would take it as his consent to start practicing now. However, there was no response from Holy Sword Alpha. So he opened the Tai Chi sword skill book and began practicing the first move, like a dragonfly touching the water. Meanwhile, 300 kilometers away, Toad Immortal, a level 3 star demon ancestor and the frog shown at the start of this manhwa, was in bad shape, his body covered in blood. He was fighting with Demon Burial, so he used his stomach acid mist technique and attacked Demon Burial. However, the technique did not work and Demon Burial began attacking, declaring that as long as she killed him, the others would obediently surrender. So she used Chopping Shoot and attacked him, sending Toad Immortal flying across the field. In a single punch, Demon Burial created a hole in Toad Immortal's chest. Toad Immortal is in really bad shape. His whole body is covered in injuries. Demon Burial is quite impressed after seeing that there are so many high-level monsters who serve as Elizabeth's guard dogs, thinking, so it's no wonder that she can hide so well. She then prepares her final attack to finish Toad Immortal, proclaiming, "From today on, your peaceful days are over." But fortunately, Robot Dog intervenes just in time to save Toad Immortal, using his sound-absorbing energy field. Demon Burial, upon seeing another troublesome enemy, is taken aback as Robot Dog starts barking at her. Toad Immortal, after seeing Robot Dog, lets out a sigh of relief, saying, "Since my dear elder brother is joining the battle, I will back off first." After saying this, he disappears from there. Demon Burial warns Robot Dog to get out of her way if he doesn't want to die. So, Robot Dog starts checking his system list, but cannot find Demon Burial in the whitelist. Noting the risk level as too high, he asks Demon Burial not to disturb his master's life, as according to the highest law, he will now eliminate the individual. He then activates Defense Level 3 and starts attacking Demon Burial with a barrage of missiles. Meanwhile, on the other side, Leping continues practicing his swordsmanship. After practicing for so long, he finally masters it, thinking it's not that difficult. When Leping finishes his swordsmanship practice, Holy Sword Alpha transforms into his human form. Leping, surprised, asks why he has appeared now instead of when he was called. Holy Sword Alpha replies that he has finally recovered. Leping says he has arrived just in time and asks for some advice on his swordsmanship. Holy Sword Alpha, confused, wonders which swordsmanship Leping is talking about. Leping reassures him, saying, "Don't worry, even if you say that, I am also aware that Tai Chi sword is only for strengthening the body, not for battle. But after trying it once, I felt like my whole body was refreshed." Meanwhile, Holy Sword Alpha recalls being chased by so many scary weapons in Leping's house, one of which is enough to overpower him. Fearing for his life, he ran out of the house, not wanting to stay in such a scary place. But the moment a weapon admits defeat, its aura dissipates, and it returns to its original form. This is how Holy Sword Alpha was turned back into his sword form, feeling saddened by the realization that he was suppressed back to his original form just now, almost losing his soul and becoming a normal weapon. Despite being the pinnacle of weapons, the legendary Holy Sword, he wonders why he was so scared of those kitchen knives. If Leping hadn't picked him up to practice his swordsmanship just now, reawakening his aura to the minimum, Holy Sword Alpha would have been reduced to a mere tool for chopping wood. Leping saved Holy Sword Alpha with a swordsmanship beyond his understanding and then asked him for guidance. However, Holy Sword Alpha misunderstands, thinking Leping doesn't need him and the Demon Queen, considering what he has as mere scrap. Holy Sword Alpha asks for forgiveness from Leping, crying and questioning the meaning of his existence, how he came to be, and why he is here again. It's so confusing for him, and he turns back into his sword form and flies away, wanting to leave the terrible place. Leping is surprised, wondering how he can learn swordsmanship without a sword. On the other side, Demon Burial dodges Robot Dog's attack, but asks him if he really is willing to be a lackey for the rest of his life. She wants Robot Dog to cooperate with her to destroy the place together, and then they will divide the outside world equally. But Robot Dog doesn't care. Demon Burial levitates into the sky and tells Robot Dog that if he doesn't know how to appreciate favors, it doesn't mean she's scared of him. So, she uses her powerful move, Chopping Shoot, which Robot Dog dodges without any problem. After that, he began to analyze the damage. He realized that if they are not stopped, they will penetrate the mantle layer, causing magma to explode. This would lead to abnormal changes in the bottom layer and cause earthquakes, ultimately endangering his master's life. Suddenly, a robotic hand emerged from Robot Dog's back and grabbed Demon Burial's Chopping Shoot. Demon Burial started laughing upon seeing Robot Dog in a tough situation, thinking he couldn't escape now. So, she unleashed another Chopping Shoot to eliminate Robot Dog. But suddenly another hand emerged from Robot Dog and grabbed Demon Burial's attack. Shortly after, he started absorbing both of Demon Burial's Chopping Shoots. In just a few seconds, he completely absorbed Demon Burial's attack and energy. Demon Burial, frustrated, wondered how it could be possible to absorb all of her attacks. However, Robot Dog thanked Demon Burial for the tasty energy. In exchange, he asked Demon Burial if she decided to leave now, he would let her go. Demon Burial became really angry and grabbed her demonic axe, saying that this move was originally reserved for dealing with that heartless person. But now, she had no other choice but to use it to destroy the dog that's in her way. The constant shattering of hope, the eternal torment of waiting, the sadness and fury of being abandoned. The resentment accumulated for 500 years was now gathered at one point, ready to explode at once. Dark energy began gathering around Demon Burial. Her demonic axe started absorbing that dark energy. She warned Robot Dog that after witnessing this, he would realize how fortunate it would have been to be chopped to death just now. Then she used her ultimate move, Resentment Deadline. Meanwhile, Robot Dog, sitting without any problem, then used his robotic hand to grab an incredibly smooth tiny mirror that Leping had created. He then used that tiny mirror to reflect Demon Burial's attack. Demon Burial was shocked and confused, wondering what just happened. The attack tore through Earth's outer layer and destroyed one of the solar system's planets. Still in shock, Demon Burial wondered if her 500 years of resentment were gone just like that. But suddenly, she was surprised to see a dog unmanned drone. Demon Burial wondered what it was this time, determined to destroy it all. However, before she could attack, the dog unmanned drone captured Demon Burial in his Force Field Control 10G. Meanwhile, our robot dog was lying on the ground, enjoying the sun, saying, "After that fierce woman, you must be the strongest intruder I have ever encountered. Fortunately, I upgrade iteratively, so it's over for you now." So, he increased the force field control power to 50G. Demon Burial was really angry, saying she could endure this, that 500 years of resentment couldn't end like this, and started shouting loudly that she couldn't give up. But Robot Dog increased the force field control to 100G, and after that, Demon Burial's demonic axe broke into tiny pieces. After killing Demon Burial, Robot Dog thought that the intruders who had been coming recently seemed to have pretty good levels. It seemed like he had to go back and sift through the trash, pick some materials discarded by the master, and upgrade them. But suddenly, something stretched out from the ground. Robot Dog was really surprised, wondering if they were not dead yet. However, this was not Demon Burial, but the Sword Saint Guild president. Sword Saint? She used her lucky pendant, a super weapon, the lucky star that wanders around the universe and passes through the hero continent every 10 years. Each time it passed, it would drop a small amount of lucky star pieces. The Sword Saint had collected enough pieces while traveling all over the world during her adventures in her early years. She commissioned the Dwarf King to personally forge them into jewelry, sad that wearing it can greatly increase the wearer's luck. Meanwhile, on the other side at Leping's house, Elizabeth is eating chips and watching TV. However, she finds the ads really annoying, just like many of you might. So, she contemplates asking Leping to open a membership for her to avoid the ads. Suddenly, she realizes that she's finished all the chips already. But for her, this isn't the end. The best part is left. The last bits of chips mixed with a lot of seasoning powder are truly addicting for her. This is next level satisfaction for her, and she admits she also does this. It's her favorite part of eating chips. She wonders in the comments section how many of you do the same thing. Now, back to our story. It's almost time to check on Leping's swordsmanship training, but Elizabeth thinks Leping must be struggling with his swordsmanship training right now. It's necessary, though. To be ready for the challenge, he had to undergo hellish training before understanding the art of swordsmanship. She imagines that just when he has no clue what to do and is about to give up, she will appear to guide him. She gets really excited thinking about this, so she opens the door and asks Leping if he's not being lazy and inquires how the training is going. She came to check on him, but she is surprised to see Leping, wondering why he's sitting cross-legged like that when she asked him to practice his swordsmanship. However, Leping ignores Elizabeth because he is busy practicing his yoga. Elizabeth asks Leping again what he is doing, but he doesn't say anything. Elizabeth wonders if Leping encountered a setback and lost face, so he wants to escape from the problem, right? It doesn't matter, she has changed her mind. As long as he bows his head and asks her for guidance, she's still willing to teach him a few moves. She guarantees Leping that after he learns them, he will be able to run rampant in the outside world. Under 3 conditions, he ignored her again. After completing his meditation, Leping asked Elizabeth if she was talking to him just now. He apologized to Elizabeth, explaining that he had just emerged from a Tai Chi meditation state. Elizabeth, frustrated, told Leping, "So that's how it is. It seems like you think you did well in your practice. But make no mistake, what you aim to learn is swordsmanship, and this meditation is pointless." Leping began smiling and pointed his stick towards Elizabeth, saying, "What do you mean, pointless? These are strengthening exercises, and most importantly, they cultivate the mind and nourish the body. While you've been eating potato chips and watching TV, I've already mastered the entire set of 13 swordsmanship moves, and I'm very proficient. Would you like me to demonstrate them for you? Then you can give me some guidance." Elizabeth agreed with Leping, thinking, "Since you want to make a fool out of yourself, I won't stop you. With just this little time, you think you've mastered some sword skills just by practicing some horizontal and vertical slashes." After that, Leping started explaining that the most important aspect of practicing Tai Chi is maintaining a calm mind, closing your eyes, and adopting the right posture. He then demonstrated Elizabeth's first move. Dragonfly touches the water. Elizabeth was surprised to see Leping exhibit such power with just one move, but she remembered he is the legendary hero after all, having lived with him for so long. However, in such a peaceful state, there seemed to be no threat at all. She wondered where the destructive power of the sword had gone. After that, he showed the second move. Swallow catches the insect, and the third move. Dust floats in the wind. Suddenly, the sky began changing, clouds gathering, and Elizabeth was surprised to see his power transform. Water started floating around Leping as he changed his stance and performed his fourth move. Sudden thunderstorm, with lightning striking all around him. Elizabeth was astonished, wondering how he could reach this level in such a short period. "This must be surpassed," she said, offering him some guidance. Then, Leping used his fifth move, Blue Dragon, out of the water, and suddenly a really large water dragon appeared in front of Elizabeth. Upon seeing this, she used her demonic sword of destruction, and in the next moment, a huge pink demon dragon descended to Earth. They both started attacking each other, but unfortunately for Elizabeth, Leping's water dragon defeated her dragon. In the next moment, everything returned to normal, the sky cleared, and a beautiful moon appeared. Elizabeth was really angry after witnessing this, thinking it was unreasonable for her sword force to become so weak in front of him. Leping explained that when standing calm, your mind is not lacking. When you are standing still, your mind is at peace. You must remain calm with every move, calm in the face of events. Only then can you grasp the essence of Tai Chi. Then, he touched his stick to the water where the moon's reflection shimmered, and suddenly the moon seemed to emerge from the water itself. This is Leping's eighth move, Moon in the Water. Upon seeing this, Elizabeth wondered if Leping was playing pretend to be weak to catch the strong with her again. But when it comes to swordsmanship, she believed he had chosen the wrong field. Meanwhile, the moon started to grow larger. Elizabeth also began to take things more seriously, showing no mercy towards Leping. But suddenly, everything started floating in the air. Elizabeth wondered if Leping was trying to use gravity to control her, but she declared she wouldn't let him do that. However, before she could act, she realized that Leping had changed the scene once again, and now they were standing on the moon's surface. Leping then began preparing his next move, saying, "As the moves of the Tai Chi sword progress, the state of the mind becomes calm and vast. You begin to understand the mysteries of nature." Then he showed the ninth move, Meteor catching the moon. Elizabeth was shocked to see that each meteor was comparable to her destructive magic, and there were so many of them. So, she transformed into her demon form, admitting it was her fault for underestimating him. But if he thought he could beat her in swordsmanship, then he was very wrong. After that, she cut through all the meteors into pieces and started running towards Leping, determined to defeat him today, claiming her swordsmanship was the strongest in history and unbeatable. She then used her powerful move, All Things Full Slash, and alongside Leping, she cut the moon into two pieces. But after regaining her senses, she realized she was so overwhelmed by the desire to beat him, she wondered if she hadn't actually killed him, right? However, she was shocked to see that Leping had merged with the universe. Leping explained that the vastness of emptiness, staying calm and sincere, embodies the state of mind that is spacious, the embodiment of Tai Chi, and body close to nature. And this is his 10th move, Holding of the Moon. Elizabeth became extremely angry after seeing Leping's 10th move. She thought to herself, "I'm so stupid for getting distracted just because I was worried about your safety." Determined not to show any mercy, she seized the opportunity and unleashed her most powerful move, Complete Magic Force, transforming into a cosmic being. She said to Leping, "Don't think you're so great at just this level. Whatever you can do, I can too." However, Leping responded unexpectedly by tossing the moon into the air and demonstrating the final stage of Tai Chi to Elizabeth. Focusing on cultivating the mind and meditation with the swordless move, the 11th move, Sword of Enlightenment, he explained, Tao creates one, one creates two, two creates three. After witnessing this, Elizabeth burst into laughter, mocking, "Swordless? What nonsense is this? A clone technique, right? Well, I'll entertain you then." With that, she used her apocalyptic magic demon queen to create 9 clones. Suddenly, many Elizabeth clones appeared in front of Leping, each as powerful as the original. Meanwhile, Leping prepared his next move, proclaiming, "3 lives give rise to all things merge into one." Elizabeth wondered if Leping was retreating. "It's too late," she declared, explaining that her sword was faster than the speed of light and questioning how he would dodge it. She and her 9 clones then attacked Leping. To her astonishment, Leping dodged the attack effortlessly. Upon closer inspection, Elizabeth realized that Leping hadn't moved. Instead, the space around him had expanded rapidly, widening the gap. Leping spoke to Elizabeth. "As you meditate and become one with nature, your mind will naturally open up." As he said this, a galaxy emerged within his body, transforming him into a part of the galaxy. Frustrated and angry, Elizabeth shouted, "You bastard! Do you think just because you surpassed my speed, I can't do anything to you?" She prepared her most powerful attack, claiming that as long as the target exists, her move could strike at super speed. "Open your eyes and see the most powerful strike of the demonic sword of destruction," she taunted as she launched her arrow of destruction towards Leping. Meanwhile, Leping completed his 12th move. 3 lives give rise to all. Suddenly, the galaxy that had emerged became massive, and as Elizabeth's powerful move, the arrow of destruction, approached, it was overwhelmed by the expanding galaxy and destroyed like fine dust. Elizabeth was shocked to see her most powerful strike, which she had been so proud of, annihilated. Everything then returned to normal, but Elizabeth remained in great shock, realizing that the swordsmanship she had gained through so much hard training had failed her. Leping explained to Elizabeth, "The mind wanders through time and space before finally returning to the beginning, where it finds peace." Hearing this, Elizabeth became even angrier. Elizabeth, incredulous, exclaimed, "How could you be so unreasonable? You dare to lecture me in swordsmanship? You want to humiliate me?" However, she calmed herself down and said, "That's fine. As you said, after seeing the vastness of the universe, I am calm. How about I forget the past, let go of my pride, set aside the swordsmanship I have learned, and accept your guidance?" Leping asked her to put aside her magic and even her life, regardless of the cost or the consequences, and to pour her everything into the swords will beyond space, beyond time. "This is my own beyond space, beyond time," he explained, referring to his swordless move. Elizabeth realized that within time and space, no matter how strong her moves were, they were no match for the power of Leping's rules. So, to defeat him, she needed to surpass both time and space. She thanked Leping for his guidance. Despite knowing that using this move might cost her everything and possibly lead to her fall from grace, she was undeterred because, for her, there was no meaning in living after defeating Leping. This is a fitting end, she thought. However, she made Leping remember that the person who ultimately defeated him was Elizabeth, the Demon Queen. After declaring this, she charged towards Leping to attack. However, Leping prepared his final move, the 13th move, "One is all," and caught Elizabeth's powerful move with just 2 fingers. Elizabeth was stunned, wondering how it was possible for him to stop her attack with just 2 fingers. While she pondered this, Leping pulled her towards him. Elizabeth, blushing and uncertain of his intentions, found herself suddenly in his arms. Everything returned to normal, and Elizabeth achieved an advanced breakthrough, becoming a 7-star demon lord. Leping then asked her what she thought of his swordsmanship and whether she believed he was capable of it. Confused and unsure, Elizabeth wondered what he meant. Leping clarified that he was referring to his mastery of swordsmanship. Leping mentioned, "Although they are just simple moves, every time I perform them, I feel like I'm getting better. What do you think?" However, Elizabeth didn't know what to say and continued to stare intently at Leping. Leping asked Elizabeth if there was anything he needed to improve on. Seeing her like this, he thought to himself that Elizabeth looked quite cute at that moment. But Elizabeth remained silent, still staring at him. Leping felt embarrassed and asked, "You're staring at me like that. Is something wrong?" He quickly composed himself, thinking, "No, don't overthink it. I can't offend her. I still need her protection." When Elizabeth realized the awkwardness of the situation, she asked Leping to let her go. Both of them felt really embarrassed, and the atmosphere grew awkward for no apparent reason. Leping knew he had to say something to break the tension. he said to Elizabeth. The effect is amazing again. It's definitely a result of your hard work. Even though my eyes were closed, I could still vaguely feel your guidance. Although the 13 moves come and go, this time my understanding of nature is much deeper, as if it surpasses time and space. It's definitely from your guidance, Elizabeth. Meanwhile, Elizabeth thought to herself, this guy, Leping, he knew I had hit a bottleneck in my cultivation recently. So he used the concept of swordsmanship to help me break through. First, he made me expand my senses, then pushed me to a desperate situation. Then he defeated my sword, which I had sacrificed everything for. And finally, he turned the clock back to before the beginning, allowing me to break through 3 times without paying a price. Is this Tai Chi? The indescribable and mysterious art. I was really naive. When I reached the demon god realm, I thought I could catch up to you. You handle it so easily. But you neither want to fight for fun nor conduct an experiment that could destroy the world. You just keep helping me get stronger. I wonder, what is Leping's purpose? Then it hits me there's only one possibility, the same one I considered before. She thought that Leping wants to have the strongest son with her, a son who will transcend the planes, but he is worried that she's too weak now to bear his child. So she tell Leping to stop looking down on people. Leping looks confused and asks what she mean. But Elizabeth thought that it seems like every time he deliberately holds back for her sake. He wants it, but he's afraid to hurt her. In her imagination, she thought that in Leping's eyes, she's still really weak and need more training. But she say, forget about that. Then she tell Leping that she can promise him that she'll do anything he wants, but he has to tell her what it is he wants. Leping is still confused, wondering what she asking him to confess. She wants to ask him if he really likes her. But before she can gather the courage to ask, something unexpected happens. Suddenly, something falls to the ground. Leping and Elizabeth are both startled, wondering what just happened. It's our favorite character, the overpowered robot dog, Wang Kai. He brings the sword saint to Leping so he can help her. After seeing this, Leping approached Wang Kai and asked, "Are you back after picking up another injured person?" Upon closer inspection of the sword saint, Leping realized that her injuries were serious and she required urgent care. He praised Wang Kai, saying, "You did a good job bringing her here." Wang Kai was overjoyed after being praised by his master. However, he suddenly sensed a violent aura approaching him. He was shocked to see that the violent aura came from Elizabeth, who was very angry with Wang Kai. She scolded him. "You smelly dog, are you picking up people and bringing them here again? It looks like you don't remember what I said, do you?" Wang Kai was terrified and trembled with fear. Meanwhile, Holy Sword Alpha, after escaping from Leping's house and flying for 30 kilometers, realized that he had only just awakened and the situation was already beyond his comprehension. The hero had gone against the script, started living with the demon queen, and had developed an inappropriate relationship with her. Confused and overwhelmed, he wondered how everything created by Leping could exert such pressure, capable of crushing him, despite him being the king of all weapons. At Leping's home, he felt akin to scrap metal. Terrified, he reverted to his original form. Holy Sword Alpha thought about his purpose, which was to help the hero defeat the demon queen. But now everything had changed. He questioned his own existence, wondering, am I only worthy of being used to cut wood? Who created me? It's not fair. Why wasn't I forged by Leping instead? If the hero doesn't defeat the demon queen, what should I do? However, he controlled himself, saying, this won't change anything. Now that I've already come here, I have to rediscover the meaning of my existence and regain my confidence. But as he turned to leave, he suddenly heard a voice from behind him asking for help. Holy Sword Alpha became alert and asked, who is it? It was Demon Burial, a demon asking for help after being defeated by Wang Kai. Holy Sword Alpha, unaware that she was a demon, wondered, what is a weapon spirit doing here? He asked Demon Burial what had happened to her real body, explaining that without it, she would soon vanish. She replied that her body was ruined by a bad guy and asked Holy Sword Alpha if he could help her find a new one, saying, I really need your help. After hearing this, Holy Sword Alpha felt embarrassed, thinking, such a pretty weapon spirit, and she needs me. Demon Burial urged Holy Sword Alpha to hurry, as she wouldn't last long. Confused, Holy Sword Alpha asked what he should do, knowing he wouldn't be able to find her a body quickly. Demon Burial explained that there was another way and asked Holy Sword Alpha if she could temporarily enter his body. After hearing this, Holy Sword Alpha asked, "You want to enter my body?" "Indeed, my magic power can sustain you for a while longer." Seeing his reaction, Demon Burial thought her plan was going to succeed. However, suddenly Holy Sword Alpha started laughing, surprising Demon Burial, who wondered if he had realized her plan. Holy Sword Alpha said to Demon Burial, "You think I don't know what you're thinking?" Demon Burial, feeling angry yet weak, thought, "Even though I'm weak right now, I have to try. There is still a chance of winning against a little guy like you." But suddenly, Holy Sword Alpha said to Demon Burial, "You see, I'm someone extraordinary, so you want to take advantage of me, right? I won't hide it from you. I'm the legendary Holy Sword Alpha." However, he knew that after leaving those two, he was needed immediately. The world is vast, but he is still the king of all weapons. So he said, "It's a possibility. I can let you do it, but only if it's you. If it were someone else, I would refuse." Demon Burial, upon hearing this, thought to herself, "He seems to be a fool. Whatever, let's make do with that for now. I will get rid of him when there's a better replacement." So she played the part of a helpless girl with Holy Sword Alpha and asked him to come closer. He approached her and asked what she wanted. Demon Burial asked him to look into her eyes. Holy Sword Alpha, embarrassed after seeing her too beautiful melon, stumbled over his words, and she corrected him. "Look into my eyes, not my melons." Holy Sword Alpha apologized and began looking into her eyes. Then, she used her eyes of resentment and asked Holy Sword Alpha to tell her what resentments he had, offering to help him resolve them. After being hypnotized by Demon Burial, Holy Sword Alpha confessed, "My resentment? It's all their fault that I lost the meaning of my existence." Taking advantage of his hypnotized state, Demon Burial asked Holy Sword Alpha to give her his body, promising to take care of his troubles. Holy Sword Alpha agreed and gave her control over his body. Once she took control, Demon Burial started laughing, exclaiming, "I have the chance to take my revenge again. However, I am really dissatisfied with Holy Sword Alpha's body," saying, "This body is too weak currently. Didn't that fool say he's the Holy Sword? Whatever, the resentment of that body weirdly fused with my own, making me even stronger. I learned my lesson last time. This time, I won't fight head-on. Instead, I will avoid that dog that's blocking my path and look for a way to deliver a fatal blow to that heartless person." Meanwhile, back at Leping's house, Sword Saint regained consciousness. Elizabeth, noticing that she had regained consciousness, asked her if she was okay. After seeing Elizabeth, Sword Saint asked her, "Who are you? Did you save me?" Then, noticing her unfamiliar surroundings, she asked, "Where she is?" Elizabeth replied, considering the situation, "It's not the time for you to ask questions." She then came closer to Sword Saint and, in a confusing gesture, placed her melon on top of Sword Saint's melon, saying, "It was me who was here first." Sword Saint, confused, didn't understand what Elizabeth meant. Elizabeth explained that she would wait right there. If that guy says he wants to do anything with her, she will refuse. Got it? Because everything here belongs to me, including him. Sword Saint still didn't understand but agreed with her, thinking to herself, such a strong aura. Is there such a person on this continent? Or is it because I'm currently injured? She was really curious about the person Elizabeth was talking about, wondering who he could be. Suddenly, Leping entered and announced that the noodles were ready, asking Elizabeth if she was awake. However, he was really shocked to see Elizabeth and Sword Saint in a strange position. After seeing this, he went back and closed the door so as not to disturb them. Moments later in the main hall, Leping said to Sword Saint, "Then so be it. Considering your serious injuries, you should just rest in the room for now." Sword Saint thanked Leping for helping her. Curious, Leping asked Sword Saint why she was injured and wondered if she was attacked by the strong monsters nearby. Sword Saint explained that she was tracking a traitor related to the Dark Guild but underestimated her enemy and was heavily injured. Fortunately, she met them. However, for the sake of the guild's name, she don't reveal her real identity as Sword Saint Guild President. After hearing this, Elizabeth asked her if she was sure it was the Dark Guild, as they seemed to have vanished lately, but she thought, why there are so many people from the Dark Guild running around? What has Amelia even done? Elizabeth exclaimed, adding that if she saw her again, she must spank her. Sword Saint explained that she had been tracking the traitor for 3 months and lost contact, so she knew little of recent events. She then introduced herself, saying, "My name is Chichai," and asked about Leping and Elizabeth. Leping, after hearing this, smiled and said, "I forgot the introductions. My name's Leping. Recently, I have been trying to be a hero to destroy the Dark Guild. As for the person next to me, she is Ziobai. She's my roommate." Sword Saint was really surprised after hearing this. Elizabeth, growing angry, asked Sword Saint if she had something to say. Leping calmed Elizabeth down and explained to Sword Saint, "Ziobai is very straightforward, but she has a good heart. When you were injured and unconscious, she helped change your clothes and used magic to treat you." Sword Saint was really surprised to hear that Ziobai had used magic to treat her injuries. She thought to herself, even as a peak 5-star demon ancestor, I can't heal my injuries. Unless it's healing magic at the level of the leader of the elf clan, it's not possible, right?